ekam hृदि निरन्तरं भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहमहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता वानचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम् देहं मृण्मयम् जडात्मकम् अहं न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तभावशुद्धिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयत कुतो वराह्य दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः विभाति स्वयं. Namo Ramana. In this Thursday satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, South Bangalore Center, as usual, we will be reading from Guru Vachaka Koval, the verse form of Bhagavan's teachings, composed by Muruganar Swamigal. We will be reading two verses, one followed by another. Each reading will be followed by a short meditation on meaning or practice implication, and that will be followed by the practice itself of 10 minutes. The two segments of verse reading, meaning, and Atmavicharam will be followed by any answering of questions put up in the chat by Akka or myself. That will be followed by Sri Ramanacentre chanting by Vaibhavji and Pratna. And Akka's remarks will conclude the satsang. We begin today's satsang by reading from the verse Guru Vachaka Koval. We are reading from the segment Conscious Sleep. This is from Experience of the Truth. The work itself, as we have seen, is divided into the investigation into truth, followed by meditation on the truth, and finally experience of the truth. There are sub-segments within these three, and in experience of the truth, we are reading the sub-segment 16, that is conscious sleep. We are reading verse number 960. Only those who have established themselves in the lotus-like shrine of the heart and who have settled in conscious sleep there without dwelling in the sense objects that deceive those who trust them, have totally awakened to the world of liberation, the firmament of being consciousness. The rest have entered the dense darkness, the false ignorance that is termed worldly knowledge, and have gone to sleep there. Muruganar Swamigal has given a small note. The rest refers to the ignorant ones who wander in delusion, knowing nothing other than the deceptive sense objects that are perceived by the five senses. So we read the verse again. This is verse number 960. Only those who have established themselves in the lotus-like shrine of the heart and who have settled in the conscious sleep there without dwelling in the sense objects that deceive those who trust them, have totally awakened to the world of liberation, the firmament of being consciousness. So, in the last few days, we have been serving some aging parents who have lost their own children who have themselves been aged, but they have preceded the aged parents, and the sorrow is that remembrance of the love given and shared, the anbu given by the other person. Therefore, when we find that the anbu comes from another object and is receivable by another object, and that is such an anbu is the cause of happiness, then there is sorrow, then there is delusion, because it appears as though that anbu has a break, has a beginning and end, and it is no more there now. Whereas, is anbu not present here and now? Is it restricted to a form? Can't it be experienced by giving it from within? Now, these are simple truths which we don't actualize and make it our actual experience. But it needs Shravana, Manana, and Nidityasana. That Anburu Unilani Anbak Karektaru Arunachala. That the sensory objects are neither the givers nor the receivers of anbu or happiness. Definitely, they are not present in that heart, the shrine, the lotus-like shrine, which is dense consciousness, which is full of consciousness alone, which Bhagavan calls as conscious sleep, or bringing the non-objective state of sleep with fullness of consciousness of waking and bring them together in the being existence consciousness, where one resides and rests in that shrine, the lotus-like heart, which is full of consciousness alone, which is not attributed to any form. The consciousness is not given by some form or received by another form. Therefore, there are no forms in the abidance where the jnani rests. In the abidance where the jnani rests, there is only one. There is only the fullness of consciousness of Jagrat Sushupti, of fullness of the white screen, which Bhagavan says came about in his second experience in the tortoise rock, while coming up from the an oil bath somewhere near the Pachayaman Koil. He along with one more attendant or assistant, they are coming and making their way to Skandashramam, I think. And on their way, it must be 1911, so it must be Udpashakti. So on their way, near the tortoise rock, Bhagavan has the within inverted commas second death experience, where he says the fainting fits, which were of short nature, became very deep, and Bhagavan could see the sensory body meet its end and turn blue. But Bhagavan is aware, and the whole world picture as though someone is dragging a white screen. He says that all the objects which were displayed as a picture was now covered with that white screen, which he has been experiencing all through from his 16th year of age as the reality. I am the deathless spirit, which has been Bhagavan's experience, is what becomes a reality when this false screen, this false spectacles falls off. That is what is said when the false ignorance, discovering falls off, the truth which was actually experienced despite the body becomes the reality. The white screen comes and covers the whole of the world picture. And Bhagavan says, those who don't experience this, those who don't reside in this Jnana Uru, the Arivuru, where only Arivu is there, only consciousness is there, those who don't experience this are merely, the rest have entered dense darkness. They have entered the area of birth and death, which Bhagavan says is dense darkness, the false ignorance that is termed worldly knowledge. To know what these objects are, what they will yield, what they will not yield. To know all this is dense darkness, Bhagavan says. And the remedy for that is to inquire into the self, to inquire into who am I, who has this worldly knowledge, for whom is this objective knowledge. The answer will be, it is for me. Hence, let the knowledge go and hold the quest with who am I. Then, Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shiva, Purno Vibhati Swayam. The Jiva, which was feeling that the sensory world, the sensory body, the sensory knowledge, and the knowledge, where it's, when it asks, who am I, it rightly hands over all this to that Ishvara who is behind the eye. For whom is this thought? It just lets go of the knowledge as a possession. Then who am I identifies with the Soham, which is ever present, which is the Hridayam. The Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shiva is the lotus heart. And Bhagavan is only asking us to let go of this dense darkness and go and rest in Arunachala Shiva, who is that light of consciousness, which is called as Jagrat Sushupti. And that is the practice he gives us in Atmacharya. As soon as the worldly knowledge appears as a thought, don't pursue it with more worldly knowledge, that is more thoughts, but diligently inquire, for whom is this thought? The answer will come for me. Immediately ask, who am I? And go to the source of the I. Repeat this till all the vasanas are erased, until abiding in Arunachala Shiva, abiding in the lotus heart of pure consciousness is realized to be our very nature. Till such natural abundance comes about, one should let go of ignorance. By letting go of thought, and inquiring who am I. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us actualize the teaching by practice of Atma-Ucharan. Vaibhavji is there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can set the time for us, sir. 10 minutes.
Yes, sir, I'll do that, sir.
We will sit in Atma-Ucharan for 10. Are in you. This must convince you of your wrong premises. The jnani is not the body. He is the self of all. That is talk 432. One more talk 499. Bhagavan. Jnana and ajnana are of the same degree of truth. That is, both are imagined by the ignorant. That is not true from the standpoint of jnani. The jnani is therefore considered to be the physical frame. Again, since the ajnani, though he is not the doer, imagines himself to be the doer and considers the actions of the body his own, he thinks the jnani to be similarly acting when the body is acting. But the jnani himself knows the truth and is not confounded. The state of jnani cannot be determined by the ajnani, and therefore the question troubles only the ajnani and never does it arise for the jnani. If he is a doer, he must determine the nature of the actions. The self cannot be the doer. Find out who is the doer, and the self is revealed. I'll read the verse again. Those with body consciousness, when they see a perfected jnani who abides as that, ask in an attempt to define the state of supreme jnana, look, if their state is non-dual, how can they perform activities such as eating and so on? Such people are in fact proclaiming their identification with the inert body. So Bhagavan is saying that there is no way for the one who is identifying with the form to know the state of the jnani, to make an estimate of the state of the jnani. And if he relies on his eyes and identifies the jnani with the body, then he gets confounded that how can the jnani do all these dualistic acts. So Bhagavan clarifies that in these two notes given by the authors here. The first note gives the clarity of this screen, that the jnani sees only the screen. He sees only the light. There is no difference between action of his body and action of other bodies. They are all subsumed and absorbed in the vibrations of the screen, of that self, of the light of the self. Only that light of the self is perceived by the jnana. That is the first answer. That all activities of all beings is consumed and absorbed in that light of consciousness called Jagrat Sushupti. There is no awareness or identification with any body or identifying consciousness with any other body also. Now, the moment one identifies with the body and uses these eyes and identifies another object as this is jnani, however, he is falsely claiming jnana because he is doing all the actions like the rest of us. And the next question is about sinning, whether the jnani is capable of committing sins. Here, Bhagavan gives us one additional support, that of non-doership. The first is of completely being the screen. The second answer Bhagavan gives is that the jnani has completely lost his doership. And in a reply to Swami Nadarananda, in the work Upadesha Manjari, Bhagavan says that there are four types of jnanis, Jivan Muktas, four stages, just for the Jnana Bhumikas, the stages in Jnana Bhumikas, Brahmavid, Brahmavid Para, Brahmavid Varenya and Varishta, or these four stages are there. Then Nadarananda Swami asks a very key question. He says that when the self-realized being who you say could be a Brahmavid, not Vara, Varenya or Varishta, just a Brahmavid. When he knows Varishtata is there, why would he desire to be a Brahmavid? Why would he not aspire to be a Varishta? And Bhagavan gives us the beautiful teaching there. He says that even to be Brahmavid, the doership should be completely erased. The ego who assumes himself to be the doer, the performer of actions, has to be completely erased, and the realization that the Ishvara Shakti alone carries out all the actions is clearly there even in the Brahmavid. Otherwise, he is not Brahmavid. If he still has a desire, he cannot be a Brahmavid. Now, that being the case, there cannot be any desire to aspire for the post of Bhagavan, who is Varishta. I should also be like Bhagavan. I should also do. That is not possible. If that is entertained, then that person is an Ajnani. So the non-doership is clear and has to be clear even to be in the first stage of the Jivan Mukti, where objects may be perceived, but the doership is completely gone, completely erased. That is the support Bhagavan gives in the second answer. He says that the jnani definitely has completely erased all doership, and whatever actions may be going on, he clearly understands that one Shakti, the Arunachala Ramana, is the one who is running everything. Is clearly understood, whereas the Ajnani is looking with the eyes of doership. So he has the division between sin and papa and punya. Whereas in the one who has completely lost all doership, when there is only one doer, where is the division between papa and punya? It is not possible, says Bhagavan. The next clue. In Atma-vicharam, when we pursue, we will clearly be able to see, and Atma-vicharam will not leave us till the end, till the Jnana Bhumikas are completely over. Because Atma-vicharam will lead to Turiyaga, the transcendental state where no objective support is held at all. It clearly reveals the state of Brahmavid, Vara, Varenya and Varishta, and clearly Bhagavan gives us the experience that this sadhana you hold on. It will take you beyond all objective supports. Now, when that is the case, the Ajnani confronts the Jnani with doership, and therefore in his face lies this division between Papa and Punya. The Jnani can give only grace and grace and grace and grace and grace and grace and nothing else, because the doer is completely erased in his case. So these are the two supports Bhagavan gives, that the Jnani sees everything as the pure light. If one can't immediately empathize or understand that, the Jnani is definitely one who has completely erased all doership and all divisions as papam and punyam. Is only grace of God, only grace of God, only grace of God is there. That is the only power that runs everything. Now, to be in the experience, Bhagavan says, it is not possible with the ego. It is not possible with the mind. That is why he says, practice Atma-vicharam, so that the mind and ego stand erased and one raises oneself or one realizes one's truth as Brahmavid. where one is free of worship and continues the practice whenever Ishvara allows and raises oneself beyond all support of all objects. Till such state of complete freedom from all objects, the Turiyaga, the pure light, is realized to be our very nature, Atmacharam will continue. Whether one does with one's own effort or one realizes Ishvara is allowing one to do, one has to do Atmacharam. With Bhagwan's immense grace, let us sit in Atmacharam for 10 minutes. Vaibhavji, can you set the time for us?
Yes, sir. I'll do that, sir.
Bhagavate Shri Ramanacentre. Vaibhavji and Pratnama, you are ready?
Yes, sir.
We can start the chant.
Yes. नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चेत् सुखवारिराशे यस्योमि मात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्दित्तावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोसिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोदीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौळिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्ब्रह्माय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ शूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातीताय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजतचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ धूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयाळवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीषोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्धाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदिष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादरसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋच्चान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्थिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादृशस्तुतिर्दष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषज्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमण स्तोत्रशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवश स्तादात्म्यभावं गतः विनिष्टस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनासेकरात् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।